years ago, I was dropped off in a place called Boston City Soleil. Now, City Soleil is located, it's the shanty town of Haiti. And it is approximately 5 square kilometers and is home to approximately over 400,000 people. I say dropped off. I called in a favor. I called in a favor to my friend who was working with the United Nations, who was not allowed to be in this space. And so on the drive in, he decided to inform me that City Soleil is a space that the United Nations once looked at, and still do, as one of the worst places in the world. And this was due to the high level of poverty, low level of education, and the violence. And so I'm on my way into City Soleil thinking, okay. Well, where he took me to drop me off, I just kind of looked around. And it was at that time that he informed me, if you decide to get out of the truck right now, Tammy, you know, you cannot use me as an escape route. He's already breaking rules by bringing me in and dropping me off. You cannot use me as an escape route. And I don't know if I mentioned or not, but I'm there on vacation from working here at Queens. Well, I got out of the truck. I did get out of the truck, waved bye to him, and here I stand in a place they call Jamaica Base. Jamaica Base is located in the center point, I guess, of Boston City Soleil. Well, Jamaica Base is home to one of the most notorious gangsters that Haiti has ever experienced. Really? What exactly am I hoping to do here? Well, despite how many incredibly moving, wonderful experiences I had in this place over the last 5 years, I'll tell you, I've also had guns held to my head and my chest. I have had an attempt at my kidnapping, death threats, and I've had my vehicle damaged. And believe it or not, I'm actually a pretty likable person, right? And so these experiences, they didn't shut me down, they didn't discourage me, but they made me question, why? I'm certainly not the first person here, not in City Soleil, not in Boston, not in Jamaica Base. And so has anybody looked at and tried to address the violence? You know, there's been decades of efforts, as you all know, where, and including my own for the last 5 years, where we've put water towers, medical clinics, churches have been built, schools have been built, but not one has changed the violence of City Soleil. And why, you ask? Well, because violence trumps all of our efforts. Violence closes doors. If a violent act happens one evening, the next day all of the doors are closed, to the water towers, to the clinics, to the schools, to the churches, all of them are closed. And so I'm faced with questions like, is Haiti making any progress? Well, my answer in my head is, you know, progress has to start with peace, right? Jamaica Base, Boston. Progress has to start with peace. Every single time I board a plane, it doesn't matter if I'm going to Haiti or coming home, leaving Haiti. There must be a local on that plane, and every single one of them, they're going to come and ask me, where do you work in my country? And what exactly does your work involve? And so, well, I work in City Soleil, and I don't even get past that, and they say, whoa, this look of terror comes over their face. Please, you know, don't go back there. It's the worst part of our country. You're going to be kidnapped, or worse. And so my first question is, and usually by this time I have a few ears listening in on our conversation. My first question is, have you ever been there? Have you yourself ever been there? And almost always their answer is no. No, I know it by the pictures. No, that's where the gangsters live. And so I think to myself, gangster? What's a gangster? To me, gangster is a frame of mind. It is simply a frame of mind. Every one of you and myself, we all have a gangster inside us. And what differentiates us is the level of aggression. And so please, if you will, compare yourself to the average 21-year-old young violent youth of City Soleil who has a grade 3 education, who has to fight for a plate of food every day, who doesn't have any family support, who is certainly not welcomed into the churches to practice their faith, and who has absolutely no sense of security. I don't know if we're there yet, but if you just take my food away when I'm hungry, you can see the gangster in me quickly. But I haven't even included the insignificance that the entire population feels at least 3 times a year when they're faced with flooding, disease, and natural disasters. Now, of course, I look to the people in the plane and I say, you're wrong. The people that live in City Soleil are, in fact, the survivors. Because if you can survive 21 years in City Soleil, you're a leader. You are already a leader. 3 years ago, I met a young man named Youre. Youre and his friend came to speak with my working partner, Robinson, and I in City Soleil. And I noticed they had this really angry face. And they just walked up to us. I think Robinson, being a person that lives in City Soleil, he probably knew why they were coming to speak with us. They're hungry, they needed money. And Robinson decided to save myself from having any difficulty because he knew I never bring money into City Soleil. And so he went and had a private conversation with them. And I'll never ask Robinson what became of that conversation. I didn't that day, and I probably never will. Those 2 young men left, said goodbye, and headed down the path. And now the next morning, when Robinson and I walked into City Soleil, by motorcycle, came into City Soleil, we were met by Youre's friend. And he didn't say much at all, if anything, maybe good morning. And he had his little earphones in his ears, and he was listening to music, and he had his head down. He didn't really look too approachable. He didn't want to be spoken to, but he certainly wanted to be in our company. And it's fine. Maybe 2 hours passed, and he still has his head down listening to music, being in our company. This isn't typical of this young man. And so I spoke with Robinson briefly, and I said, do you think we should talk to him? What's wrong? What's wrong with him? Robinson said, yeah, I'll be right back. He sits down, he talks to him, and he says, what's going on, man? And he said, the population killed Youre this morning. The population killed Youre this morning. And so I think to myself, whether they knew it or not, the population killed Youre because that young man was hungry. And on the other side of things, Youre was so hungry, he was ready to give his life, risk his life for food. That morning I realized that Youre was armed with a gun because he was pushed to that place where it's like do or die. He's so hungry, he needs to rob somebody of their money so he can afford a plate of food. And everybody knows in Cité Soleil that if you get caught stealing from somebody, they are going to kill you. That is your fate. You're going to die by the hands of the population. Now, I spent some moments with Junior that morning on my hands and knees, thinking to myself, what's my job here? What can I do for this young man at this point, as I'm surrounded with all young people taking all of this in? And I think, okay, I've got my cell phone, I'm going to call the inspector of police. Hi, Inspector, it's Tammy. Like he knows me. Miss Tammy, I have a body. I need you to send somebody to come pick it up. I need you to take this young man off the ground. And he said, Tammy, is Robinson with you? I said, yeah. Give the phone to Robinson. You know, Robinson says, yeah. Robinson, you and I both know that body's gonna lay right there. It's not going anywhere. It's not gonna go anywhere for a few days. And Robinson tells me this, and I'm thinking he couldn't tell me that himself. You know, I really don't like this man. Junior was born and raised in a place that has absolutely no credible role models. Because somebody like an inspector of police in any other community is somebody with power. Actually, the most incredible authority figure, and is somebody that typically everybody would look up to, right? Well, now Cité Soleil with an inspector like that, really, if these are the kinds of role models we have to offer our future, what's our future going to look like? It's going to look like this. So what I decided to do was sit down with the population, with all the old people, and ask them the question that I felt I already knew the answer to, but I needed them to tell me. What is the biggest problem of Cité Soleil? What is your biggest problem? And they said, it's the violence. Yes, it is. But how are we going to address it? And they said, education. And I'm thinking back to myself, those school doors are closed. What we need is peace. But I agree. We can think outside the box and use education to find peace. And so, what do I do first? I sit down with Robinson, who is my wisdom, and I sit down with Elton, who is very clearly my strength. And we make a plan. What we're going to do has never been done in Boston Cité Soleil before. I'm not sure about the other 31 different areas of Cité Soleil. But what we're going to do is teach emergency first aid. And we've all taken emergency first aid, I'm sure. But this is going to be a different kind. We're not going to teach people how to bandage. I mean, bandage, sure, but we're not going to stop there. We live in a very hostile area. We're going to learn how to clean and pack a bullet wound, clean and stitch a stab wound, even save a limb if one were to be severed. This is the kind of first aid course we're going to teach. And we're going to take a month to teach it, not a weekend. We're going to take an entire month. So that's 20 days, 5 days a week, because we're going to have weekends off, right? Who are we going to teach? Well, Boston Cité Soleil is home to 5 different gangs. And when I said think outside the box, I meant it. We're going to take 2 members from each of those gangs, and we're going to pull them together. They hate each other. Might not be the greatest idea, but we're going to give it a go. But I don't want just any 2 people from these gangs. I went to the gang leaders. I explained to them what we want to do. And they were interested in it. They were supportive of it. Surprised? I said, I need your help. They said, you need rules. Give me the rules and give me 2 guys. I don't need you to come. I need 2 mothers of the gang. And by mothers, I mean when someone's hurt, I want the first person that would normally go to their aid. I want 2 of them. So they did that. And 10 guys came together, 4 weeks, 3 tests, 1 exam, and at the end of it, they're all armed with their own first aid kit. You know, I explained to them on their graduation day, which was, in fact, the day that I came in to audition to do this talk. And I explained to them, anybody can take a life, but not everybody can save a life. And now they have the skill set to do so. Now, this is the education part, but what about the peace? Because that's what we're trying to, this is just a vehicle to drive us to peace. And so this is how we decided to do it. Those 20 days, those 10 guys that absolutely hate each other and by night are just at each other's throats, had to eat together every day, like a family. They had to study like a class, and at the end of it, they got to celebrate like friends. In the end, they respected each other. They did. They gained respect for each other. And they did, in fact, become friends. Now, how successful do I feel this course was? I have 2 stories. One about the education. I think day 17 of this class, a young man came in, clearly knew what was going on in this space. He came in, blood from head to toe, because he had been split from back here to here. He needed help. And so, very quickly, all the guys surround him, and one practiced his skills, cleaned that wound, and stitched it together. They sent me pictures of it. In fact, that's a picture of it. And you can see the stitches so clearly. Even doctors here are impressed by the skill, by how they put the stitches in that young man's head. And so, what do we have here? We have a man that's never stitched before save a life. He is a hero. Not only is he a hero, he's a role model for all of these young kids holding toy guns. And so on the flip side, on the peace part, I didn't tell you, but in the beginning, when we were gathering these 10 guys, there's 2 specific young men that tried to kill each other. Not at the course, but maybe a month before the course, had tried to kill each other. And I love them both evenly. They're 2 incredible young men. And I said, I don't think it's a good idea we put them in the same class. Let's have 2 classes. We'll put one here and put the other one over here. And let's keep them separate. We need this course to be successful. Well, my wisdom and my strength disagreed. And they put them in the same class. It's absolutely incredible, not only to me, but to all of them, even the public of Cité Soleil, to see that through these 20 days of them learning together and eating together, that they, on graduation day, when I received the picture of the group, are sitting together. To eat their final meal together, they're sitting together because they've gained respect and have become friends, and we've found peace between even just those 2. Now, the question is, can we change the face of Cité Soleil? And absolutely we can. But the real question is that can we, with every effort and every program that is brought into a place like Cité Soleil, can there be an option to take that course, use that resource? Can there be an option for someone who is uneducated to become part of that? Because when we give those opportunities to the people, they make new relationships. We create peace together. And so I'm absolutely excited about the future of what our programming will hold, because I believe it's the beginning of a movement of criminals to heroes. Thank you.